Here, just 2 weeks away from the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, but many of the victims' families are still awaiting justice. Just yesterday, a military judge scheduled the trial for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 3 others for the summer of 2028 for cases concerning their roles as alleged masterminds behind the attacks. Hanna Born was with her sister in the Pentagon's daycare when the attack happened, and now Hanna is honoring the 2,977 lives stolen on 9/11 by running a mile for each victim. Here's a look at her journey.
Day 214, running 2,977 miles, one for every life lost on 9/11. Mile 1 today is for James Waters Jr. Mile 2 for Jean Marie Wallendorf. Mile 3 for Ching Wang. This mile is not mine alone. Never forget.
Joining us now is a woman behind the movement, U.S. Air Force Captain Hanna Born. Hanna, thank you so much for being here this evening. This is an incredible story. I love that you're running and you're saying the names of the people who were taken from us that day. But you have a really special story behind this, what you're doing. You were in the Pentagon daycare with your younger sister on the day the attack happened. What do you remember from that day, first of all?
Thank you for having me, Katie, and thank you for highlighting these stories as we go into 25 years after. I often equate my memories from that day kind of to, if you might watch a movie, you see a lot of snapshots up front, and it takes you a while to understand what that means in context. That's kind of how it was for me. I was just shy of my 3rd birthday, and so most of my memories are just sensory overload and just an overwhelming sense of confusion, even more than fear that day.
Do you talk with your sister about what happened that day and the things that you remember?
I do. My parents kind of started talking to us about it early on to help us understand, like I said, in context, what it meant. My sister was only 4 years old that day, so she doesn't have any memories. But we talk about how we were safely evacuated. I was a toddler at the time. People came to the daycare doors and they showed up and they just asked, how can we help? And so for infants like my sister, they loaded a few of them into cribs and they carried those cribs about half a mile to the river so that they could get them out of harm's way. For toddlers like myself, I held somebody's hand and I walked alongside them until they set us up just next to the cribs. They kind of organized the cribs in a circle, and the daycare workers sat inside with toddlers like me and just comforted us until our parents could get there. And my dad eventually showed up, and he took my sister and I out of the city that night, but he brought us back to the Pentagon a couple days later so that we could see kind of these images that are happening now, how many people were there to help the recovery efforts. And so he started to kind of show us really early on, look how many people are showing up to help. You saw the worst of humanity, but look at the best of humanity here to do what we need to do to heal together.
Well, you are an example of the best of humanity. What was the idea behind you deciding to run, thousands of miles in honor of the thousands of victims who were killed on 9/11?
Thank you for the kind words, Katie. The biggest motivation for this for me was, for the past 25 years, my parents have made it very clear to my sister and to me how fortunate our family was that day, and how many people didn't have that same outcome. And as we think about the promise that we made to never forget, I wanted to do that in a way where it's not just every September or 25 years later, but something that we do every single day, because for 25 years, there are almost 3,000 families who are out there and they're missing a big piece of who they expected they'd spend that portion of their lives with. So in dedicating the miles to the names, I wanted to just draw attention to the human impact of that day. And I heard a quote one time that said, people die twice. Once the last time they stop breathing, the second time is the last time somebody says their name. So in saying the names with each run, my goal is to make sure that that second day doesn't come.
Absolutely. It's so important to remember that they were real people with names and families. You joined the 9/11 Foundation as part of your running. You're obviously a very impressive athlete. You've raised over $8,000. When you hear that, what comes to mind? What kind of community have you been able to engage with who are supporting you in this venture, especially ahead of the 25th anniversary?
Yeah, I was super excited to team up with 9/11 Legacy Foundation, everything that they're doing to continue to educate future generations. I realized that I'm probably one of the youngest people who still has direct memories from that day. So seeing, the funding that's being raised to help their efforts to help educate the next generation, seeing the community that's coming together on social media. I post everything on Run to Remember 2977 on Instagram, and every day I see in the comment section people who tell stories about the names I've been running for. They say, that was my brother, that was my cousin, that was my sister, let me tell you a little bit about them. And then seeing people who might not even have a connection to that day, but just commenting underneath that, thank you for sharing this about them, you know, sending hugs your way or something like that. That's been the coolest part, to just see how many people have come together with that same theme of unity that we saw in the weeks, months, years after 9/11, now 25 years later for the same purpose.
You know, we're seeing now, 25 years later, some rewriting of history. We've now see the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation has told their staff not to refer to the events of 9/11 as a terrorist attack. We're now seeing Khalid Sheikh Mohammed finally going to trial. Do you have any reaction to those developments, given the project that you've been working on and your experience of being in the Pentagon when it was attacked?
I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to do with this project is kind of focus on the families right now. And so in doing that, my goal is really to stay engaged at, you know, the human to human level for the people who were impacted. So big picture aside, like what I'm trying to do is just create community together, keep saying their names, keep learning the stories of the people that we lost and sharing those with the world around us.
So you are a captain in the U.S. Air Force. Your sister is a first lieutenant. So how did you both decide to pursue careers in the military?
I think my mom, she was a mission support squadron commander at the time of September 11, 2001. We saw growing up everything that she did. She decided to continue serving for a 30-year career after the attacks on 9/11. So we grew up surrounded by military families in a military community, seeing people and families every day who are committing their lives to service and making sacrifices. And I think both of us, recognizing how fortunate our family was, wanted to find a similar purpose in our own lives. And just by virtue of being so closely ingrained in that for most of our formative years, felt that the military was the place that we personally could have that impact that we wanted to. I'm very proud of my sister. She just returned from her first deployment. And I think she's doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing. I feel very fulfilled in my career right now as an instructor pilot in the Air Force. And I hope that each day when we live our lives, we can do so in a way that would make the 2,977 people who aren't here 25 years later proud.
Well, we were blessed and honored to have you on the show tonight. U.S. Air Force Captain Hanna Born, thank you so much for your work and for your service.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.